So I'm standing outside in front of one of the boys' pens, and you can see they each have a hay feeder. So along with the pasture, which is going to die any day now because it's cold now, they have unlimited hay that we fill, and it keeps the mess down a little bit. There are a couple of pigs that spread the hay all over, but pretty much. And see, we've got burlap over here eating the hay. In the next pen. Say hi, burlap. And out there, Clyde and Madman. Clyde's a llama, Madman's a gray alpaca. They are constantly in the field trying to eat whatever grass is left. And here's... Okay, let's take a pause and go inside. Oh, and here comes Blaze. Say hi, Blaze. Blaze is a male alpaca. Oh, and there's Dante, who I wanted to talk to. He's the beige/fawn colored alpaca on the left there. Say hi, Dante. And to the right is Zeus. And behind him's Romeo. Here comes Dante. Dante, say hi. Dante wants to be shy. He wants... Dante, are you on camera? Yeah, he's a good boy. Hello, welcome to episode 3 of Rose Spins a Yarn. So it's Tuesday evening, and I normally had slotted and enjoy doing these on Sunday afternoons. The light's great, my husband's with my daughter, I'm still awake, and but it's been a really crazy week and a lot of work on the farm. And just busy in general, getting ready for the holiday season, both personally and in the store, etc. So Sunday came and went, and I didn't get a chance to do it, but I really want to get one done every week, so here I am. So, tell you a funny story. So on Tuesdays, we go to gymnastics, and I take my daughter to gymnastics while Joe takes care of whatever he takes care of in the barn. And Joe's my husband. And so I had fed because he was going to be late tonight. So I fed and I gave hay to everybody, put hay in the hay boxes, and didn't stop at the house before I left to go to the farm, to the gymnasium. So anyway, so I get there, I'm talking to people, watch my daughter do whatever and do the little gym thing, and I get home and I go to the bathroom and I look in the mirror and there's hay in my hair. Big chunk of hay in my hair. Nobody said anything. Nobody picked it out for me. I mean, do I live in such a rural community that me with my big Carhartt jacket on, with hay in my hair, nobody thought it was a big deal. It was just whatever. So I said to my husband when, I came out of the bathroom, because we had been talking for about a half hour before that, and I said, I have hay in my hair. I've been sitting talking to other parents for over an hour, and I have hay in my hair. And I said to my daughter, how come you didn't tell me? She's like, because you always have hay in your hair? My husband's like, I didn't even notice it. So seriously, let me tell you, if you have friends who are farmers and there's hay in their hair, maybe mention it to them in passing. Maybe reach out and offer to pluck it out of their hair, because you know what? It'd be a nice thing to do. So anyway, so I think last week I was telling you guys, because I got those new little looms in there in the store, and I was telling you guys that that'd be a great thing for a kid, and I casually mentioned that You know, I'm not able to teach my daughter knitting or crocheting because, you know, it's, you know, she's like, I know. So I said, you know, maybe my friend Laura, who also teaches crochet at my store, could maybe teach her a little bit of crochet. So Laura watches my podcast as well. I'm not really sure why, because, you know, she sees me in person several times a week. So why she would endure sitting through another half hour to an hour of me talking, I don't know. Yeah. So, hi Laura. Anyway, so Laura taught my daughter to crochet, and I just wanted to show you because I am so proud of her. Look at that. Look at that chain. It's like, I don't know, 10 feet long. Look at that. And you can't really see it very well, but you know what? It's not that bad. It's not that crooked, and she's really enjoying it. And Laura said she has to chain this entire ball of yarn. And you know what? She sits there watching her Netflix or YouTube while I'm doing something, and she sits there and she crochets. It's great. I love it. So, you know, hopefully she can, and I think crocheting is probably easier for a 5-year-old to learn, you know, one hook rather than 2 sticks. And, you know, I learned crochet when I was very young. I learned that first, and I only started knitting as an adult, so, you know, maybe there's something to be said for that. But I'm so proud of her. So for all you moms out and dads out there that may be watching, you know what? Get your kids started crafting early. Because as I saw on a meme once, probably on Facebook or Instagram, whatever, if you get your kids into crafting early, they'll spend so much money on yarn and fiber, they won't have any left over to do drugs. It's great. So, all right. So, so remember my hat that I told you about last week from Woolly Wormhead Ziggy that I wanted to spin something for? Well, I did spin something a while ago, and I think I showed you on the first podcast these Rolags, because I was just showing you Rolags. I wasn't showing you the colorway or anything, but I showed you these Rolags, which are like royal baby and very, 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 very soft. I just want to pet them all day long. I had spun that a while ago on itself. So, you know, I did a 2-ply and it was only the Rolags. And here it is. And I got to be honest with you, I don't like it for the hat. It's too busy, it's too muddled. I think this would look awesome like for a pair of like wrist warmers or maybe fingerless mitts or something, but not for that particular hat. So what I'm going to do is I think I'm going to do 1 ply of the Rolags and 1 ply of a solid color. I haven't really decided what solid color. That fly is back. I'm serious. It's 2 days before Thanksgiving. When are they going to die? Anyway, so it's going to be the tagline of my podcast is the fly is back. So anyway, so here it is, if you could see that. And I think it's too muddled for that hat. I want something a little bit more vibrant. So, I don't know. Maybe I'll do a self-striping yarn. So, meaning I'll do 1 ply of the Rolags, and then I'll do another ply that stripes in different colors. And there's like lots of pinks, and there's fuchsia and turquoise in here. So, you know, maybe I'll pick that up and I'll do, maybe I'll do a rainbow self-striping. So if you've never heard of self-striping, hand spun, I did a blog post a couple of years ago, and a very talented knitter buys my hand spun, and she did a cowl. And basically it's called all colors thick and thin. It is one of my signature spinning techniques. And I did it 1 ply all color, crazy colors, thick and thin. And the other ply, I did it self-striping. So when she knitted the cowl, you know what came through? It looked like it was self-striping, but because of the other ply was all these crazy colors, it just looked amazing, I thought. So it got me to thinking that, you know, that would probably look cool with the hat. Maybe get some self-striping, and especially since the hat is not knitted in the round, it's knitted side to side, it might look really funky. So I don't know. So I don't know what I'm going to do. I don't know if I'm going to do the other ply whites, black, purple, self-striping. You know, if you have and if you want to see that cowl the way it knitted up, it is on my blog. And it's on a blog post called, you know, self-striping cowl, something like that. So tell me your opinion of what you think I should do. So here's the rolag. What do you think I should do for the other ply? Solid color, self-striping, black, and if you choose solid color, what color? Black, white? I don't know. So give me some opinions there, because I wanna get started on that as soon as I finish up some of these spinning Christmas orders, because I'm a little insane right now. So, because everybody wants to do some hand spun stuff for their gifts. So, okay. So the next thing I want to talk about is what I'm going to splice into this podcast is I did a little visit with the Alpacas today because I wanted to introduce you to somebody named Dante, among others that were willing to speak to me today when I went out and I interviewed them. So they weren't that impressed with me today, you know. Usually any day, because, you know, they just want to eat. They don't want to hang out and talk most of the time. So anyway, I went out there today while it was still light this afternoon, and I did a little bit of visiting with the alpacas with my camera in my hand. And I have to edit some of that because obviously I was doing it, holding it without the tripod. So, you know, I want to take out the spots where, you know, I'm walking and you only see my feet, stuff like that. But I have this program called Alpaca, and I've been doing this for probably a decade now. And what it is it's a virtual adoption, and basically you get to choose an animal, and you get to choose if you want bats, hand spun yarn, or a scarf or a cowl made of that particular animal. And then I include in that gift, in that adoption, a little booklet. It has pictures of the animal, it has a picture of the animal's friends, parents if they're on site, brothers and sisters, whatever, and a letter from the animal in their own words. So I recently, you know, my most adopted animal on the farm ever is a little guy named Dante. Well, he's not so little, but I'm not sure why he's so popular. I think it's because the picture that is up there is when he was younger, just shorn, and he does look pretty adorable. He's all grown up now, but he still has really beautiful fiber, and he still gets adopted the most out of anybody. So I recently got an adoption. Again, it's very popular around the holidays, and I wanted to feature this one. I've also featured him on my blog before. Again, he's so many times adopted, it's easy to feature him because I get pictures all the time when I do special, when I do the knitting, when I do the scarves or the cowls, because if I'm just doing hand spun, it's not that exciting to show typically, but you know, now that I have a podcast specifically for spinning, you know, maybe I'll do that more often. So anyway, I luckily, well not luckily, I planned it, have some Dante all washed up, and I just want to show you this. You'll see in the picture, he has like in the video that I'm going to splice it, he has like a fawn top knot, but his body is pretty beige, you know, whitish, like winter white, you know, not snow white, but winter white. He's a registered beige with the Alpaca registry, but he is, he looks white to, you know, normal people. but he's off-white. So this is his fiber that's washed. I had washed it prior to putting up the listing because I know from experience, if I don't wash the fiber prior to putting up the listing, you know, that adds like a week of time because it's dirty and I might have to comb it, you know, how as I showed you guys last week, flick it, it's dirty, I might have to flick it, I might have to pick it, then I have to wash it, and then the worst part is I have to wait for it to dry. Now anybody who has washed raw alpaca versus raw wool will tell you that alpaca takes longer to dry than wool. 2 to 3 times longer it seems, because if I wash wool in the morning and it's a nice breezy spring day, it'll be dry by the afternoon that night, no problem. You know, fluff it up a little bit and it'll be dry. Alpaca, 2 days later, you still get wet spots and you just have to keep moving it around. And so I know from experience that I make sure that I wash before I put up the listing. So very smooth, very soft, very soft. He's a soft guy. Even though he's not young anymore, he's still soft. So he is, his name's Dante, and as I said, I did a little interview with him today. He wasn't too talkative, but I have some good pictures, and I actually got a shot of his dad, whose name is Adriano. Adriano was named after my favorite bull rider of all time, Adriano Moraes. He's from Brazil, the bull rider, not the alpaca. And I've had Adriano since he was a baby as well. And we used to, he used to mumble, like when he would chew, he looked like he was mumbling, like, so his nickname used to be Mumbles when he was a little kid. When he was a little Korea. But yeah, I've had him since he was born as well. So it's pretty cool. I do not have Dante's mother. She went to live on another farm several years ago. And but Dante got his name because I wasn't at the farm the day Dante was born. My then at the time farm manager Jimmy and his daughter were at the farm, and Sienna, who's Dante's mom, appeared to be struggling. And I think we were just all on edge because we had had a couple of alpacas that year, that breeding season, struggle to give birth, and we had to pull the babies out. So Jimmy and his daughter pulled the baby out because they just didn't want it to, you know, get into a big mess where they'd have to call the vet and, you know, have all this issues done. So they just pulled the baby out, and his daughter named him Dante. So that's how Dante got his name. And he is a very sweet boy. One of my favorites of all time on the farm. I'm not sure why. He just has this personality where you almost think he knows what you're saying. So you're not going to see that come across in the video because, you know, I'm holding this thing up to my head, and they're not used to having a video camera shoved in their face. But you know, he's a special little boy around here. So anyway, so what you're going to see is this has already been washed. And next time I am going to show you the bats that I make from it. This customer wanted 100% alpaca, so it'll be 100% Dante. And so you'll have 100% alpaca bats made from this. You'll see that next time. And you'll also, depending, well, Thanksgiving is in 2 days, so I'm not going to promise that Sunday you'll see yarn. But I might do a sample of some spinning this coming week. I think I'm actually going to do a demonstration on spinning roll lags coming up for the hat. I'll do that. But so I know folks have mentioned in comments both on YouTube and on Instagram and on my Facebook page that they'd like to see something go from beginning to finished product. So from alpaca to scarf. hat, gloves, whatever. So you'll get to see most of that in here. The only parts that I'll be skipping are the skirting and the washing of the animal. But I'll show you the carding maybe. We'll take some pictures of, I'll do some video on my carder. That might be interesting, that fly again. And then the bats, and then the spinning, and then the finished cow. So I might just, you know, show you all that, except for, as I said, the washing and the actual skirting, which I'd like to do in the future. If people are interested, if they work with raw fiber a lot and would like to see skirting, you know, maybe I won't make it a weekly podcast episode, but maybe I'll just do a offshoot video of how to skirt alpaca fleece, which is slightly different than how to skirt sheep fleece. Sheep fleece is definitely easier. Definitely easier. Okay, so tonight my tip for you, again, Thanksgiving's in 2 days and I've been horribly busy, so I'm not going to do too much in the way of product stuff tonight, but I am going to do a tip, a trick tonight, and I'm going to splice in the visit with the alpacas. So there you go. So I am going to show, I get asked the question a lot. You know, I do a lot of contests for hand spinning. So, you know, into the fairs and New Jersey sheep and wool and stuff like that, I enter my hand spun, and I typically win on every skein I enter. Not saying that to sound rude or anything, but that's what I'm going for. I typically like to win, and I like the feedback that the different judges give, and it's interesting to see that of course they're human, so where one judge may think it was the best skein she's ever seen, the other judge will say, you know, it's okay, or you're anonymous to them, so you know, they're not going to take any emotion into account. They're just going to look at the skein and tell you what they see based on the criteria given in that particular contest. So, but the question, bringing me back to my tip and trick, the question I get asked a lot is, what does a figure eight mean? And how do I do it? And how do I tie my skein appropriately? So, I'm going to demonstrate that tonight, both from a nitty knotty and from a skein winder, because I don't know what you guys have at home. And let me just take a drink of water. Don't want to start that lip smacking again. So I will tell you though that when you're entering in a spinning competition, they're going to tell you to tie it in 4 places. So, you know, one on each area of the nitty knotty or on the skein winder. You're going to do 4 figure eights in that. And the criteria is specifically that the loops, the yarn should be able to freely flow through that figure eight. So, what I'm going to show you is I'm only going to tie it in 2 places, and the reason I'm only going to tie it in 2 places is because that's how I tie all my hand spun for sale. And I do that typically before I put it in the bath. So, and you know, I don't necessarily reskein my yarn, my hand spun. And unless it's something that shrinks a lot, like Jacob's wool or well, Jacob is probably the one that loses the most weight after washing, after spinning. It springs up pretty boing. But alpaca, typically you're not going to lose a lot of yardage. So I don't reskein my hand spun. I tie it in 2 places. I put it in the bath, and once it's dry, I skein it up nicely, twist it, and put it out for sale. So, and I might take a yard or 2 off just to make sure that I'm under selling it, meaning that if when I went to skein it, it was 126 yards, I'll probably put it up as like 124, 122, just so that I'm not undercutting somebody's project, because if they think they're gonna get 122 yards, I wanna make sure that they're gonna have 122 yards. Was that confusing? If it was, just let me know. Anyway, so tonight I'm going to show you how to tie a proper figure 8 with your yarn. And you could use this on any yarn. It doesn't have to be hand spun. It could be on any yarn that you have that you're skeining up. And it is the proper way to do it for a spinning competition, but it's also very useful and very practical for your own needs. When you're setting your yarn, you want to make sure that it's tied before you put it in the water, because if not, yarn barf, and hand spun yarn barf is worse than regular yarn barf, because it's just like, you think about how many hours it took you to do that. So I'm going to stop babbling now, and I'm going to readjust the camera. So okay, welcome back. So this is a 1 yard niddy noddy. Just move that camera. This is a 1 yard niddy noddy that I have already obviously wound my yarn on, because I didn't want to bore you with doing the actual. So this was the piece that I started with. Okay, see that there? I'm gonna bring that up. And this was the piece that I ended with. Now, if you are going to enter into a yarn competition, a spinning competition, you definitely want to end and begin in the same place. Meaning that if you have a really long piece, I know it's painful, but cut it and tie it together. Don't have the little end dangling, okay? And I'm gonna show you what that looks like on the one I do on the Skein Winder, because there's a really long piece left over, and I'll show you what I do with that. So when you are working on a niddy noddy, okay, whether it's 1 yard or 2 yard, and this is a 1 yard niddy noddy, as I said, and I would really never skein this bulky of a yarn on a 1 yard niddy noddy, but I couldn't find my 2 yard niddy noddy because I normally use a Skein Winder, and I'm sure that it's somewhere, but I didn't want to search. So what I do, again, here's the beginning and the end, okay? So I'm going to take it and I'm going to cross it, and then I'm going to split my skein as such, okay? And I am going to taking this piece, and I'm going to bring it through the middle. Gotta move my hand out there. Okay. You see now that piece came through the middle, right here. Okay. And then I'm going to take this piece and do the same thing, bring it through the other middle, bring it through the middle and onto the right, and then I'm going to tie this. Now, if this wasn't so short, I would cut the ends and then just tuck them in. Make a double knot and tuck it in. Okay, now normally I will tell you that I would cut a piece of this, a long piece of this, and do all the ties like that. So it just totally camouflages into the yarn, and that will give you the best way, presentation wise, whether it is for sale or in a spinning competition. I see stuff all the time. I mean, I've had people send me hand spun samples, and it'll be this beautifully spun white yarn, and it'll have like blue acrylic ties, or, you know, some other type of color, and it just looks a mess. So if you're going to use a different yarn, make it be a similar colorway, but I prefer to cut a piece of the yarn and do the figure 8 that way. Okay, now again, you don't want to tie it so tight. Here, let me loosen this so you could see what I mean. I hope you could see this. All right. You don't want to like be like, you don't want to do that, okay? You want it to be loose, and so that the yarn, I really have to loosen it up now. I really tied that tight. Okay. You want it to be loose so that the yarn can still slide freely, okay, within the tie. Okay? And again, you just want to tuck this in there so that when you skein it in its nice pretty little thing. Okay? Now, if you're only going to do 2 ties, if you were going to do 4 ties, you would tie one here, here, and here. Okay? But if you're only going to do 2 ties, because you're not entering into a skein competition, but rather you're just doing this either to store for yourself for a future project or to sell, you're going to want to just do 2 ties. You're going to want to flip the niddy noddy over and do the opposite end. So here is the piece I just tied, and I'm going to want to do the opposite end right here. So if you're looking at it, okay, it's the opposites. Okay. Now I took a coordinating yarn, one of my hand paints, and I am going to do the same thing. So I'm going to split it in half. I'm going to take one end and bring it through the middle. Should have cut that, it's a little long. Okay, so now I have if you look, I have it split and cut in the middle. Okay, do you see that? I brought a piece through. Okay, then I'm going to loop and bring it through the middle again and bring it around so it's a figure 8. And if you see, there it is. There's the figure 8. See? Now, if you ever order yarn that is made for wholesale, that's made for indie dyers, they may do, I don't know what you would call it because this is a figure 8 because it looks like an 8, but they do 3 loops, and that's not necessary with this. They do that because when you're dyeing, you want it to be as the least amount of interference as possible. So, all right, so I'm going to tie this again loosely. Okay, I'm going to trim it off so it doesn't stick out. I'm going to tuck that in. Okay, so there you have it. Figure 8s on a niddy noddy. Now I'm going to adjust the camera again, and I'm going to do it on a Skein Winder, which I think would probably be easier to see, hopefully. So I'll be back. Okay, welcome back. So here is a skein of hand spun, and this is actually one of my colorways called Feminine. Anyway, so you have the beginning of the skein, okay, and you have the end of the skein. And if you could see, there's a lot of this left over. All right, now I know that it's a waste and that people who've just started spinning are gonna be like, oh my God, you're gonna cut off so much. You know what, in the long run, you'll be better off, okay? Trust me. So, again, beginning and end. I hate when people take this and they just like, you know, put a tie right here and this little tail is left hanging. I just hate that. I just think it looks so messy. So, take the beginning and the end, cross it. Okay. Split the skein at about half. bring the one loop up, bring the other loop down, tie loosely, okay, make a double knot, trim it, tuck it in. Okay, I'm going to turn this. Okay, let me just show you that again. You see? There's the figure 8 right there. See how it's crossed? Okay. So, I'm going to turn this to get to the opposite side. And I already have yarn that I just cut. So now I'm going to do just a regular tie, because I don't have the beginning and the end no more anymore. And no more, listen to me. I don't know where I'm talking from. And I like to do that crossover on the first tie where the two ends meet, because then you don't have any little ends hanging out. It looks much neater, and spinning judges will tell you that that's the way they like it done. Why do I know that? Because I've judged. So, I've judged spinning, hand spinning competitions. So, but other judges think that too. It's, you know, it's probably where I got the idea from, because, you know, there's nothing new in the hand spun world. We're just recycling old ideas over and over. So again, I'm going to split this in half, okay, and I'm going to bring one loop through, and I'm going to bring the other loop down and around, and I'm going to tie it. And I'm going to clip. Now, what do I do with these? I have a little bag that I keep all my ends in. This way, when I have a yarn, hand spun yarn, that is not a lot of leftover when I do the end-to-end figure 8, I have something that I can coordinate with the next one. So I'm going to take this off. It looks seamless. Like you could see, there's a tie there, but it totally blends in because you use the same yarn. And that's what you want. You want it to all blend in. Again, I've seen people, they'll put like some blue yarn on here and it sticks out like a sore thumb. You want it to be presented nicely. Now again, if this is just for you for a future project, do whatever you want with whatever yarn's on hand, and if you don't want to cut a piece because you want to use every inch, then that's fine. But if you're doing it for sale, please use the same yarn or at least a coordinated fabric. Okay guys, that's about all I have for tonight. I want to wish you guys, for those of you that celebrate it, in the US anyway, a happy Thanksgiving week. I hope you get to spend time with your loved ones and your friends and family. And that's about it. And I will see you Sunday, barring any unforeseen consequences. Any unforeseen circumstances. I am going to do some, I'm writing this down right now, I'm going to do some roll-lag demonstration spinning. Maybe we'll do a little long draw. For those of you that don't know how to do that, I will show you some of Dante's prep for the adoption, the virtual adoption. And if there's something else you want to see, feel free to holler at me and let me know. So those will be the next topics. And also, I just washed a ton Okay, maybe not a ton. Maybe there was like 12 skeins. I just washed about 12 skeins of hand spun. What I do is I just spin, and then throw them in a bucket. And when I feel like it, I go and I set them. So I just washed like 12 skeins because I needed to do a load of skeins because I have one of those was custom order. The rest of them were just spinning to spin for the store. So I have a bunch that I will showcase next week so that you see the different fibers and how they work out, and you get to see some of my hand spinning so that you know what I'm talking about. People who have asked about the control card, from episode 1, they wanted to see a close-up. I did do a close-up in episode 2 of the card and what was on it, and in episode 4, which will be this Sunday, I'll do some long draw spinning on the Rolags, and I will use the control card during that so you can see how I use it during my spinning to get a desired weight, because I'm going for a worsted weight for this hat. So I will show you how that works and how to measure as you go along to get the desired weight that you want. So anyway, I hope I didn't babble too much tonight. It was just a crazy week and my head is spinning. So until next time, happy Thanksgiving to those of you who celebrated here in America, and good wishes to everybody else out there. And that's about it. See you next time. This was Rose Spins a Yarn. Bye.